Hi everyone, it's Shari Carroll here for SimonsSaysStamp.com with a card idea using the Tim Holtz Alterations Tree Blueprint Set. To start my project off, I've cut a panel of paper from the Paper Stash collection. This is the Tim Holtz Ideology 8x8 collage set. I've also mounted my tree blueprint stamp onto an acrylic block, and I'll be using archival black ink for this. So I'll just go ahead and open this up and flip my stamp over and start tapping the ink onto my stamp. The paper I've chosen for this is rather muted with some light writing in the background, so it'll kind of add to the whole design of the blueprint stamp. So once I have that well inked, I can go ahead and flip that over, decide where I want to position that, and then I can go ahead and press that down. And since this is a larger stamp image and I do have it on a block, I'm going to go ahead and wiggle that around and press it down really well before I lift this up off my paper. And as you can see, I have a really great impression. I have done some additional stamping on some tags, and I've also used the little die cuts to cut out the pieces. So I have 3 tags that I've stamped, and I've used the smaller die cuts to cut out the parts that I want so that I can stack my tree together once I'm all done. To color my trees, I've decided to go with some greens and blue distress stains. The link to the blog post with the supply list is in the description of this video. I'll just start off with one of the darkest greens, and this is the forest moss, and I'll just go ahead and scribble it on, and then I'll add some pine needles, which has a little bit more blue color, and then I'll go ahead and move these inks around with my finger. I won't be using any water with this technique, so I'm just moving these colors around on the tree. Next, I'll be grabbing some walnut stain, and this will go onto the trunk portion of the tree, and I'm not worrying about any of the overlapping colors. I can just go back in and add some more greens and blues. I'll go back through some of my colors, and I'll just keep overlapping colors on top, and some of them will spread out more with my fingers. Others I'll just go ahead and just blot so that they're a little bit heavier in color. Now that I have my tree portions colored, I will be coloring the star, and for this I'm using wild honey. And so just like I colored the tree, I'll just be going back in and blotting and smearing with the distress stain. And for more concentrated color, just go ahead and just blot that straight on without moving it around much. To give my tree parts a little more definition, I'm going to go back in with some distress ink. And so here I have the wild honey and my ink applicator tool. Just pick up a little bit of the ink and just kind of swipe it from side to side and get in between all those little angles of the star. I'll do the same inking to my tree parts. This time I'm using frayed burlap, and I'm just getting the edge of the sides of each of those tree parts. Also, I wanted to give a little more definition to my panel, so again with the frayed burlap I'm just going around the edges and pulling that color in towards the center, making sure I have a little bit more concentrated color on each of the corners. This will also help my tree tie into the background as well. I wanted to do something a little bit different with my message, so here I've used the frame die to cut out a hole in my panel. When I'm done, my message will sit recessed onto the base of the card, so I've used a little bit of foam adhesive on the back of that panel. I'm inking up the label image with archival black ink, and I'm stamping onto a lighter sheet of that collage paper. And I'll just kind of find a good position, and once I'm ready I can go ahead and stamp that down. I've used a lighter tone of ink, and this time I'm using the archival coffee ink for my Happy Holidays, and I'll go ahead and position that in the center of that label design and make sure that I have everything straight before I press that down. And now you can see the difference between the two colors. It's just a little bit lighter, and this will sit, let me go ahead and lift this panel up, right inside the panel of that tree. So now I have started some assembly of my card, and I wanted to show you how I've recessed my message. I have coordination papers on the base of the card, and I've trimmed out that label so that it sits within that window. I've removed some of the backing of my foam adhesive that holds that panel in place, and so now I'm just going to go ahead and tie a square knot with my linen ribbon. I always learn for a square knot it's right over left and then left over right, and then everything will sit nice and flush. And go ahead and give that a good pull, and once I'm happy with that I can go ahead and trim off the ends with my scissors. I want to add a little bit of frost to my tree and the star, so here I'm just adding a little bit of glossy accents, kind of following the design of the tree. There's some lines in there. Once I have my glossy accents down, I can use my distress glitter, and I'm using the rock candy. And I have a piece of paper underneath me, so I'll just go ahead and lift up my tree, and now I can just sprinkle on my rock candy, and it'll just catch in those areas where the glossy accents is. I have scribbled 3 of my distress markers onto an acrylic block. I have barn door, walnut stain, and spice marmalade, and here I'm coloring in my ornaments using my water brush pen. I'm using the watercolor technique so that these will be a little bit more muted and won't stand out against the tree. Once I'm done painting, I'll let these dry, and then I can go ahead and adhere them to the panel of my card. As one final step, I wanted to add a little bit more shine to those ornaments, so I've used a little bit of glossy accents. And I'll lift this up so you can see the sparkle and shine and dimension of my card. I hope you've enjoyed my tutorial on using the tree blueprint from Tim's Alteration set and some great Ranger products. Thanks for watching.